Hi, thanks for joining me again. This is lesson number 5. We've made it 5 weeks in a row. We are halfway there. My name is Greg Granger. Thanks for joining me. So, today's lesson is a recap of 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, we're going to go back and we're going to talk about everything that we did up to this point. But first, you know me, I want to read this disclaimer and get it out of the way. Here we go. If you are under 18, tell your parents you are doing this session. Feel free to ask questions and make comments, but stay safe online by just using your first name. Don't give out your contact details, and I hope you enjoy today's session. Very good. So let me get this going. Yeah, last week at the end of the session, all of a sudden my Google Assistant wanted to answer a question for me. So hopefully that won't happen again. So, yeah, like I said, we are going to grab my notes real quick. We are going to go over the intro to notes and time signatures because that was lesson number 1. We're going to do the understanding the difference between the notes and the rests. You know, each note has a rest, quarter note rest, eighth note rest. Like I said, this is a refresher lesson. Number 3, our number 3 lesson, our third lesson was playing beats using different time signatures, right? Okay, so I hope you have your drum set or your pots and pans and your tables. Did you like the pots and pans that I used the last lesson? Send me comments. Don't forget to send me comments. Let me know if you're learning anything. Let me know if you're having a good time. Tell me if you want me to do something, if you want me to address a certain beat, but communicate with me, okay? All right. And then understanding sheet music as it relates to drums. That's what we did the last lesson. Understanding sheet music as it relates to drums. But this is a refresher, all righty? But you know the first thing we have to do is play a beat. I've changed the angle here. Hopefully this is better so that everybody can see. I did get some more requests about being able to see my hands, so let me know what you think about this angle, okay? All right. Had a good lesson? Can you see it? Cool. So let's play with me. Let's start off playing something really easy. The 4/4 beat, what I like to call the Billie Jean beat, with the snare on 2 and 4, kick drum on 1 and 3, eighth notes on the hi hat. You ready? I'll count us in. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. Cool. Very cool. Let me know what you think about this angle. All right. So let's see how many people remember the first things we talked about, which were the notes. And I won't spend a lot of time on it. Like I said, this is just a refresher. Send me a lot of comments. And what I'll do is I'll put up some short clips answering your comments in between the lessons, okay? So we know what the notes were. I will hold this up for you again. If you have some paper, you got a pen or a Sharpie, something you can write this down with, I would suggest you do that. It's always good to have it. That way you can have a reference point, something to look back at, okay? So I can wait. Grab your paper, get your book, yeah, get your pen. And for these lessons, you may want to just set them out because as we move on, there are going to be different things that you're going to want to write down and take notes on. So, here we go. We talked about this. This is what we discussed the first lesson. Hopefully, if I do this, you can see it okay. Cool, right? The whole notes and the half notes and the quarter note and the eighth note and the 16th notes. Same thing, these are your eighth notes because you can tell from the one bar or the one flag. 16th note, 2 bars, or the 2 flags. This tells you that 2 eighth notes makes 1 quarter note, right? 2 16th notes make 1 eighth note. Very good. So that's just a quick refresher. I'm sure you got it. Now, let's talk about the different names. Bam! There they are. All right? The whole note or the what? Let me breathe. The half note or the what? The minim, right? Quarter note or the what? The crotchet, yep. Eighth note or the what? Quaver, semiquaver, or 16th note. But for me, I'm going to stick with these, the American name for the notes. Very good, very good. So, let's just go ahead and put those guys down there. Refreshing your memory. If this is a quarter note, the quarter note is on the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your quarter note, right? Your eighth note is 1. Let me see how I want to demonstrate it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The downbeat and the what? And the upbeat. Very good. The downbeat and the upbeat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then when you play it on the drums or the hi-hat or anything you want to use to play it on, cymbal, floor tom, I'm going to use the hi-hat. It will be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Quarter note is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Eighth note. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Play along with me. Whenever I play along with me. I'm going to keep the bass drum on quarter notes to keep time. All right? Here we go. 1, 2, ready, play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and stop. You got it? Have you been practicing that? Because getting a good understanding of how the notes work and how the rhythms, how the beats relate to each other, the eighth note, the quarter note, the 16th note, it's going to help you be a better musician, all-around musician, all righty? Now, you can even take that exercise or just take the eighth note and the quarter note and turn it into an exercise. So if you have a set, even if you don't, if you have a couple of pots, like I had last week, I still had a pot here, and I had a pan here, and I had a book here, and I had a bucket here. But I can still do this, what I'm going to show you on that. I could do it on the drum set. I could do it on the table. It's just a matter of playing the notes. But if you have a set, what you can do is go quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note. Eighth note. All right? It will go like this. Check it out. It will go 1, 2, ready, play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and Now, did you notice what I was doing? Did you notice that I was doing what with my hands? Yes, alternating. One, start with the right hand. Two, left hand. Three, right hand. Four, left hand. One and two and three and four and good exercise. One, two, three, four. One and two and three and four and stop. Now, I've never talked about this before, but I probably should have started on day one telling you that I am using a match grip. That's how I'm playing. Holding my sticks, the right hand and the left hand, the grip matches. That's called a match grip. And it's real easy. If you open your hand like so, put the stick across it like so, close it, bam. Same thing with your left hand. Match grip. Okay? Now there is something called a traditional grip, which is where your right hand is still like the match grip. Open it, put the stick here, right? Okay. But your left hand is a little tricky. I won't get into details. This is later on. This is a future lesson. But the stick would go in between these two fingers and rest right here. And then it would create this kind of movement. I'll do here. See? That's traditional. Traditional. Match grip. But like I said, that's later on. It's a few lessons down the road. Right now, I'm doing match grip. Cool. So you got that exercise, quarter notes, and then eighth notes. Perfect. You can do the same thing with 16th notes as well. With 16th notes as well. I just need to slow down, and then my tongue will work along with my brain and my mouth, and everything will be fine. Cool? So if quarter notes are 1, 2, 3, 4, eighth notes are 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 16th notes are twice as fast as eighth notes, because it takes 2 16th notes to make 1 8th note. Remember that. How many 16th notes does it take to make 1 8th note? 2. Very good. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The count is for 16th note 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. You remember? I told you to see it. You got your downbeat. 1 E, it's kind of like in the middle, and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. The upbeat is always and. All right, in 4/4, up always and. 1 E, there's that E right there. And a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. All right, I just kind of want you to visualize it. But 3 and 4 and you count. I'll do it again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Very good. Very good. Excellent job. Fantastic. So now you can take that and create an exercise with that too. If this is your quarter note, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and Yeah, lots of ways to work on your hands, to understand how the notes work, and to get a feel for your drum set. All right. You can also go one and two and three and four and one and a two and a three and a four and two and three and four and one and a two and a three and a four and one, two, three, four. One and two and three and four. All right, you got that? Roll that back. Get used to playing that. That's a good exercise, especially if you're starting off. And if you've been playing for a while, just turn the metronome up and see how fast you can go with that. But make sure that it is precise when you do it. If it's sloppy, then slow the metronome down, right? Because it's not about speed. It's about making sure that the technique is done correct. Cool. All right. So that was lesson number one. Lesson number two was understanding the difference between the notes and the rest. I'm pretty sure you guys understand that, right? We haven't played a beat in a while. Let's play something. Let's play something in 3/4. 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, play. Yeah, 3/4. You heard it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's coming up. We're going to touch on that too. This next part is easy. You know, a quarter note is on the beat in 4/4. So a quarter note rests. You would rest for how many beats? One. If I have one quarter note rest, it's just like having one quarter note. If I have an eighth note rest, if I'm counting one and two and I want to do rest the same way, I want to have four eighth note rests, I would rest. I still count them, but I don't play anything. You still count them, but you don't play anything. It's a rest, but you count them exactly the same as the notes. 16th notes, 1 E and a 2 E and a. You still count them, but don't play anything. Right? 1 E and a 2 E and a. 16th note rests. 1 E and a 2 E and a. So 1 E and a 2 E and a. 1 E and a 2 E and a. 1 E and a 2 E and a. 1 E. Eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. And you see what they look like. Put that guy right there. Like I said the last time, the quarter note rest looks like a little kind of squiggly E vibe. Eighth note rest looks like a weird little 7. 16th note, because it has the two flags. 16th note rest, the 7 and that another little line there. That represents a flag on that rest. Looks like a kind of weird little F. All right? It's actually this guy with the little line under it. This rest is what? If that's a half note, what? Exactly, a half note rest. Very good. Whole note? Exactly, whole note rest. And what did I say about the whole note rest? Because they look similar, except the whole note is so full that it's hanging onto that line. It's hanging, oh, I had too much spaghetti, too much food, I'm hanging on. All right, that's how you can tell the difference. The half note is going to sit, half note rest is going to sit up on the line. The whole note rest is going to hang from the line. All right, but you count them the same as you would count the notes. Perfect. I think we're getting through this pretty quick. Let's move this guy here. Refresher of time signatures. Time signatures. That's the little break beat that I just wanted to put in there. Don't ask me where that came from. I have no idea. All right. The time signature is made up of two numbers, top number and a bottom number, right? The top number tells you what? Good job. How many beats are in the measure? The bottom number tells you what? Very good. Which note is equal to the beat or gets the beat? If it's a 4 at the bottom, what note does that represent? Very good, the quarter note. All right, so if there's an 8 at the bottom, what note does that represent? Very good, eighth note. If there's a 16 at the bottom, what 16th note? Good, good. If the top number is a 4, how many beats are in the measure? 4. Excellent. And you know that measure, like we said, that's the little train car. That's the example I used. Think of putting a train car together with another train car with another train car. That's a measure, a measure, a measure. You have your people in the train car. You have your notes and your rests in those measures. All right. If there is a 3 for the top number, how many beats are in the measure? Very good, 3. If there is a 7 at the top number, tricky one, how many beats are in the measure? Come on. Yes, great, fantastic, 7 beats. All right. I mean, you can have, I'm going to be ridiculous now and say you can have 21 beats in a measure, but you can. If that top number is 21, then that means there are 21 beats in the measure. And if that bottom number is an 8, then that means the 8th note is equal to 1 beat or gets the beat. Right? So you'll have, if they're all 8th notes in that measure, you'll have 21 8th notes. As long as you know what the number, each number means, then you can figure out how to count that measure. Perfect job. So let's play something, but we're going to play in the time signatures. Get your time, get your drum set. If you don't have your drum set, get your cross arms going, right? I'm still going to hit the bass drum, but I'll do this one with cross arms. Ready? 4/4. Billie Jean beat, real easy. 1, 2, ready, begin. And 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Now, what did I do different that time? See if you're paying attention. I was counting my quarter note. 1, 2, 3, 4. Which is not right. But if you're paying attention, 1, 2, 3, 4. What was I putting on the hi-hat? 16th notes. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exactly. It's a little slowed down, and I just wanted to see if you were checking out because I was counting it. I wanted to see if you caught that. So I was going 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Now, let's do the Billie Jean beat for real this time. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready. Secret is to know where that quarter note is. All right. I hope I didn't confuse you. I was showing. I wanted to mix it up, but I hope I did not confuse you. All right. Okay. Cool. So that's easy. That's 4/4. 4/4. 1, 2, 3. 4 beats in the measure all day long. 3/4 sounds like, yep, 3 beats in the measure, quarter note gets the beat. Exactly. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay? Did you play anything in 3/4 with me? All right. I'm not going to tell you what to play. You play whatever you want to play as long as you're playing a 3/4 beat because it's only 3 beats in the measure. And crash the cymbal on 1 just to set it up. Okay? Let's try it again. You can play what I'm playing or you can make up your own beat. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 1, ready. Every other one. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay? I just felt like crashing on everyone may have been a little bit too much. You know what I'm saying? All right, cool. So you guys understand that. You understand 6/8, 6 at the top, 6 beats in the measure, 8 at the bottom. That's right. The 8th note is equal to the beat. And 5/4, 5 beats in the measure. Quarter note is equal to 1 beat. Exactly. Take 5 is in 5/4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, cool. Just touching over stuff. Yeah? All right. Now, let's go back to what we discussed, which was understanding sheet music as it relates to drums. We talked about lines. We talked about spaces. We talked about the clef, the area where the high stuff is, which is called the treble. Mm-hmm. Did you look it up? TRE what? Right, all right. Just having some fun here, making sure you guys know what I'm talking about. The treble clef, and then the lower, where the low stuff is, the bass clef area. Now, I know sometimes it sounds like I'm saying clef, but it's really clef, C-L-E-F. All right, treble clef, bass clef. That's just my American accent where I'm from. That's just what happens sometimes. Cool? All righty. How many lines? Five. Five lines in the treble clef, five lines in the bass clef. How many spaces? Four. In the treble clef, four. In the bass clef, four. Good. The shortcuts for remembering the lines names or the acronyms in the treble clef? What did you come up with? Did you use Every Good Boy Does Fine? Or did you come up with something else? Doesn't matter as long as you come up with something with the every with the E, good with the G, boy for the B, does with the D, fine, F. Those are your names of those lines. Treble clef, the space, F-A-C-E, face. Right? Hold on. Let me get my sheet of paper. Right? This is what I'm talking about. Treble clef or the G clef because it curls around the G. Cool? Right. F-A-C-E. Every good boy does fine. Bass clef. Right? Good boy does fine. Always. Great big dogs fight animals. All cows eat grass. Some people might say ace, good boy. Don't worry about that B though. Yeah, sorry. Stick with all cows eat grass for now. Alrighty. When these two guys are together, it's called a staff. This is called a staff. All of this is a staff. All of that is a staff. Just as the bar line. That's two bars. That's one bar. And we talked about the notes. We talked about the fact that drum music, sometimes you'll see a treble clef, sometimes you'll see a bass clef, and then sometimes the music is written out and it's pretty specific. It's like they give you a guide. When you get the sheet music, they will actually tell you what hand or what foot is playing what, which drum. Now, I didn't go into that last week, but I probably should have. So I'll touch on it here now. Now, I know this is small, but I took this line here and I did a zoom drawing of it, okay? That's what is on that line. If you notice, the guide here tells you that RH, which stands for right hand, is playing the HH, which is the what? It's the hi-hat. And you'll notice that it is sitting right on that top line. And you'll also notice that for this particular music there, they use the bass clef. Like I said, sometimes it's treble clef, sometimes it's bass clef, sometimes there are no clefs. All right? But the LH, the left hand, is for, it's playing the what? It's playing the snare drum. LH is for your left hand, it's playing the snare drum. Now there are some drum music that is set up like this. Big band charts sometimes are set up like this because they want you, when you have to read note for note, they want you to know what drum you're playing. The RF, right foot, is playing the BD, which is the bass drum, and the melody is there sometimes. Okay? Melody would be there sometimes if you're playing big band. Let's say that there's a line that they want you to catch, then they would put that there. LF stands for left foot. Now, Your hi-hat has a pedal, and if you step on it, it makes that sound. Step on it and leave it open, the cymbal stay open. Close it, it makes the foot sound. You with me? Right. So, you notice that the hi-hat or the cymbals, because cymbals would do the same thing, they use an X to show you hi-hat, the right hand, and they use an X down here to show you the hi-hat pedal. They use that for cymbals as well. You see where my note is? It's circled in right here and right there. Now, this is this. I just did it here so you can see it better. So I wouldn't have to use that crazy zoom thing that I did the last lesson. You have your 16th notes at the top with your hi-hat, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Right hand. You see your snare, 1 E and a, and then this snare is on 2, 3 E and a, and then this snare hit is on 4. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. You see, I put the bass drum on 1, then there's a quarter note rest on 2, then the bass drum is on 3, then there's an 8th note rest on 4, then the 8th note on and. So the bass drum would be 1, 2, 3, 4 and. And if you repeat that, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat. Okay? Now, there are some drum charts that are specific like this, but they will give you the key to help you. They'll give you a little note key guide thing to tell you what hand is playing which drum and what cymbal. Okay? All right. That would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I'm sorry, 16th notes, isn't it? 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Sorry, let me turn this around so I can actually see what it is that I should be reading. Right. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. If it were 8th notes, it wouldn't have the 2 lines up the top. It would have the one flag. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 16th notes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Cool. All right. Now, normally, if you were here with me, I'd say, any questions? Yeah? I'm glad you asked that. What would a drummer do for a whole note? Someone did ask me that question. I know the comment came up. Like I said on the very first lesson, a whole note most of the time, I'm going to say like 99% of the times, we will roll. A roll can be a single stroke roll, which means that you just alternate through single strokes or as fast as you can. Cymbals. All right. Or it can be a double stroke roll, which is when you actually stroke twice. Right? Plastic cymbal, so you might get more plastic noise than, actual cymbal. But on a real cymbal, it would be a nice ringing tone. So that would be a whole note. So let's say we had quarter note. Let me make something up real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, That's how that works. So if they were half notes, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Eighth notes. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Eighth notes. Quarter notes. Sorry. 2 eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2. The 16th notes. 1 and 3 and 4 and 8th notes. Okay, what am I playing here? What am I playing? Put it in the comments. Say you are playing quarter notes. We are, let's say, roughly near the end of this lesson. So near the end of the lesson, you're playing quarter notes right now. Okay, what am I playing now? What am I playing now? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I'm playing eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. What am I playing now? 1 E-ana, 2 E-ana, 3 E-ana, 4 E-ana. 1 E-ana, 2 E-ana, 3 E-ana, 4 E-ana. 16th notes. 16th notes. What am I playing now? The quarter note is always on the bass drum for my lessons right now. Oh, I just told you what I'm playing. Yes, I'm playing the quarter note. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What kind of notes are those? Notes. What about here? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, I should do the whole thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What were those? Whole notes. Good job. Fantastic. So that's touching everything that we just did. Right? Beats in 4/4. 4/4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool, got it? 5. 3, 4, 5. Cool. All right, we touched on everything. I will see you guys next week, Thursday, 4 p.m. UK time. All right? And we'll move on. We're going to talk about some rudiments. We're going to talk about paradiddles, plans. We're going to talk more about the grips. We're going to talk more about the sticks, the type of sticks from what I'm using here. It's a little bit brushes and show you what mallets look like. we're going to go to the next level. Refresh your mind and your memory on what we've talked about from lesson 1 all the way up to this refresher course. All right? Cool. All righty. Cloth Cat Studios. It's the place you want to go. If you want to learn how to play anything like drums or guitar, or learn how to sing, or learn how to use programs for software, get your act together. This is the program. All right. Everybody stay safe, and I'll see you next week. Bye.